Well, Moramai, I'm joined here by Finbarr Bradley, who's going to be delivering the Ned Maddrell Lecture, which is an annual lecture which deals with sort of Manx culture, identity and language. And Finbarr's the author of a great little book called The Irish Edge, and he's going to be talking tonight about sort of the Manx creative edge. Well, cheers for coming over today, Finbarr. Could you just tell us a bit more about the sort of general philosophy and the general sort of stuff you'll be talking about tonight?
Yes. I mean, the backdrop to all of this is the economy and economic development and industrial development in a sense. And so what I'm talking about is the link between value, or creating value, or how value is created, creativity itself, innovation, and a sense of identity, a sense of a place, and in particular how important authenticity plays and integrity plays in the modern economy and in the future economy. And in that sense, the Isle of Man and the role of Manx in particular has a special role to play in the potential of the island in competing globally.
How important is authenticity then to in the modern global economic age?
Yeah, you could almost say there's two worlds. One world is it doesn't matter at all, and when I say it doesn't matter at all, in the sort of very competitive, cost-driven, vicious, competitive world of modern capitalism, sometimes being authentic doesn't matter at all. But it's a world that is probably very inappropriate for a country like this to be trying to compete on. A country like the Isle of Man should be competing on that sort of second world. And the second world is a world where authenticity plays a huge role. That is in the value of a product or service. What is often called by economists now experiences, or an experience economy. That is where people more and more are not paying for a commodity. They're not paying for a fashion item because of the physical material, or they're not paying for a certain type of clothes or food or a holiday, for example. They're paying for something deeper than that. They're paying for something that has to do with the spirit, that has to do with the connection that they are seeking between themselves and that physical thing, or that service, for example. So what you might call an experience is something special, it's unique to the individual in a particular place, or in buying something from a particular place. And in that sense, I think the great opportunity for this island is the fact that having a great heritage, having the language, a unique language, a distinctive language, a language that has that connection with the past but has incredible potential for the future, means that by devoting resources to developing the language, in developing a sense of identity, the country is probably more likely to compete globally in the years to come. Now that seems to go against a lot of orthodoxy, which sort of sees a language like Manx as something to do with the past. It's actually, I think, a flawed reasoning, and a lot of the people that sort of talk that type of talk don't actually, it seems to me, understand very well what's going on in global markets. They think something like language rooted in the past is not, quote, very useful. And the reason they don't think it's very useful is because it's not maybe as common as English. It's certainly not as common as English. It's not as common as Chinese, or it's not as useful as it were as Spanish or whatever. But that's actually a wrong way of thinking, because when people buy for something that is authentic and are prepared to pay extra money because something is special and is rooted in some way in a special place, money is not as important. And therefore, for a country like this, if you compete on that level, you're far more likely to be successful, because you're not being driven by costs and by others who can actually compete better on money, as it were. This country has a special heritage, a unique heritage, a heritage of great value, and the role of the language is special. I would use the word resource, that the language is actually a resource. A lot of people see spending money on language as sort of protecting something. I see it as kind of almost the opposite. That is, by spending money on language, on a language like Manx, you're actually more likely to be successful economically. It's a great return on investment. even if you're spending money oftentimes just to learn the language. I'm not saying you're spending money, our people are learning Manx in order to make money. They're not. But that's precisely why it's very valuable. Because by people doing something in the modern economy or in the emerging economy, when people are prepared to do something that engenders trust, that engenders meaning, engenders a sense that they value things more than money, they're more likely to get people buying their goods and services, because goods or services from a place that values something deeper than money, those types of places are going to be the most successful in the years to come. You can see that in cities, and you see it in countries, and you see it in companies and in organisations of all sorts.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, I'd say part of our role in Culture Van is to try and sort of develop and encourage people to find out more about our culture and identity and language. And I think part of that role is it's not just about, 30, 40, 50 years ago. It's very much about trying to develop a broader view of what culture and identity means, and also that authenticity and honesty is crucial to what makes the Isle of Man. And it's good to know that authenticity therefore has a sort of a broad economic benefit. So I'm really looking forward to hearing the lecture tonight, and we'll be filming it, so we'll have an opportunity for people to view it later. So, well, Guramaid on Chittas Man in Finbarr. Cheers for coming to the Isle of Man, and we'll talk to you again later.